Welcome to We Talk Spanglish with your host, Manefta. Hi, we're back. A lot has changed. I have a bob now. Yes, I have a bob. But I want to go back to where we left off and the final of this because the trauma dumping has been enough. But there were so many valid questions that you guys asked me. I was so taken aback by how many people were actually relating to what I was talking about and how they felt about it and where I stand today and what I learned from it and what I took away from it. And I think they're all valid questions. And I want to answer that accordingly and make sure that I answer it correctly, if that makes sense. So, you know what? Let's just get started and start with the questions because, girl, I'm ready. Also, you bitches want to talk about Rhode Island housewives. Ooh, woo, 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 girl. But yeah, let's get started with these questions and I'm going to answer them to the best that I can. So let's start with the first question. Do you still talk to your siblings? So I have two sisters from my dad's side that we no longer speak. And it's not like we have bad, ill intentions or I'm mad at them or we're beefing or it's just on that side of the family, which I'll get to that, where things I took away from this whole divorce and trauma and what I didn't want to implicate on my children. But, you know, for me, it was easy. I was like, look, you guys should pick your mother since there's a choice to be made. Once she started like coming for the kids, like my own kids, and doing things that a grandparent doesn't do, and telling my kids things as they got a little bit older that were weird, like that my brother wasn't their uncle, like things that, you know, you don't, especially as a step-grandmother, that I've let you come in. I've forgiven you. I've given you a second chance. And of course, she fucked that up. So she, in turn with that, she also ruined that relationship with my siblings because we couldn't come back from that. To me, it was like, okay, so if you need to pick and choose who you want to be with, I think that you should totally choose your mom. And I remember having that conversation with my sisters. Like, if you're not going to be consistent in my kids' lives, then, you know, for birthdays and holidays and all of those things, we have to like choose and pick and who can be. I don't want that toxic environment for my kids. And it was easy. It was easy for me and I'm okay with it. Ooh, I was a little thirsty. I'm sorry. I was okay with that transition. I want to say that as adults, I really don't know them that well. They're in like their 30s now. None of them that I know of have children except for my stepbrother. And I do here and there, you know, talk with my older niece. But other than that, like it's very sheltered and very from far away. I know that he sees the kids through Instagram and stuff because they'll tell me. They're like, oh, this certain person saw my story or whatnot. And, I think that that's deserving. If that's what they chose, then that's how they get to see them grow up through a screen. And that's we have to live with our choices in life. And that's okay. Because we have a great family. They're happy, healthy. I couldn't ask for more. My kids are amazing and they're smart and they're good people. And that just makes me believe more and more so that I made the right decision, that I did not falter in making that decision, in creating boundaries. And that's what I want to get to, where I feel like the things that I took away from it were the things that I strive so hard not to be. I don't want to be any of those things. I will never, ever, ever make my children pick if they want to. If they came to me today and told me they wanted to talk to my dad, that's on them. That's totally on them. Whoever wants to talk to my dad, that's on you. However, that creates some kind of distance for me. And especially when it comes to my kids, like genuinely they have the choice and they don't want to. They're like, we're good in our relationships and the people that we have surrounded with us. Now, we've had these conversations because I never want to be like that. I never want to give my kids an ultimatum of what and who they can be around. I feel like if you have someone who's giving time to your kids and loving your kids, then you shouldn't take that from them. But, also not in a toxic way either. As a mother, you have to be shelterish with that scenario. And if the day were to come that, they want to talk to my dad, then hey, they want to talk to my dad. It is what it is. They can make peace with that and, carry that relationship, and maybe it will be different for them. People deserve second chances, but that would be up to them. And that's something that, yeah. So as of today, I do not talk to my siblings like that. I wish them well. I hope that they're doing great. I hope that their lives are amazing. I don't bump into them. And that's weird because, being that I do go to Miami a lot and stuff. But no, I don't. And I'm okay with that. I've made peace with that in my life, honestly. And yeah. So next question. What was the last straw with your dad? My last straw with my dad was deep. I'll go surface it, but I've always lived on my own with Herbie and my kids, and everybody struggles in their own situations. He was struggling with his wife, which they don't live together, by the way. They're like, I don't know if they're legally separated or whatnot, but they don't live together. I know he lives with my grandmother. And she lives in the house on her own and like rents out parts of the house. But I to me, it was more so of the actions that he took. He put, my kids various times in ultimatums that were not okay. And we rented this big house that he wanted to rent. And this was right after COVID. Like, this was a month after COVID. He was like, one day he just doesn't come back to the house. He pays his portion of the rent, and we pay for the rest of the portion of the rent of the house, which I've never done before. And he didn't want to be alone. I felt bad because he kept looking for places, and he didn't want to rent anything. Long behold, he just didn't want to pay for rent, I'm assuming. But after COVID hits, one day he calls me, and he's like, oh, I'm not paying rent there anymore. And I'm like, what? Actually, the landlord calls me. And he's like, hey, the other portion of the rent hasn't come in. And I'm like, that's weird. I call my dad, and he's like, yeah, I'm not paying the rent anymore. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you guys can figure it out. It was like $800. Right, like a month after COVID, after everything is shut down. So I was like, okay, this isn't going to end well at all. So we were paying what we could towards that house. And especially during COVID, it was so hard that, like, thankfully Herbie had a job. So many people didn't even have jobs. It was the worst thing ever. Then after that house, we couldn't rent a house. We couldn't find a house to rent. I decided not to talk to him. Then during COVID, I started doing therapy, which helped me so much to understand my situation and why I was angry and why I felt so betrayed and why I had felt like, I lost my world. Like, it was like, no matter what I did, it was like I had to get the shitty end of the stick, and I didn't understand that. And when people say you break the fucking cycle, like, wow. That is the truest, that is the fucking realest thing anybody has ever said to me, because, bro, is that true? Like, oh yeah. The minute you break the cycle, I left. I said, after I couldn't find a house, that I was living in my father-in-law's house, thank the Lord, for my father-in-law, my grandfather. But yeah, that was tough as shit. It was horrible. My kids always had their little place, no matter what, no matter how broke we were, no matter if we were on food stamps, no matter what the fucking scenario was, we always had a home. And that's so fucked up that he would try to put my kids in that. And that was the last straw for me. I was like, that's it. I had not been talking to my stepmom for years at that point. And with her, she was trying to tell the school that the kids didn't live at that address because we used my dad's address, so they can go to a better school. That was bothering her. She was mad about that. So I called the front office and told them that my stepmom had dementia. And if she got there, to please call the cops, that I would come and get her and take her back home. I did that. And you know what? I'm not ashamed of it. Like, you come for my kids, and that's when things are going to get really nasty. And that's when things did get nasty. And that's when I took a step back from her. And then it was my sisters, no, more so my dad. After I stopped talking to my dad is when I just stopped communicating with all of them. And in the beginning, it was a little hard. Given that we were in COVID, I think that might have helped. Especially like COVID is like a blur to me. I think about those days of being in the house and stuck in the house, and I'm like, oh my God. I kind of don't remember certain things. But I will say this, that helped me because I couldn't see people like I used to see people. So it wasn't like I was missing anything. But, you know, the realization of it has been more so over the years that now I'm like, oh, wow, it's been like, 7 years and I haven't talked to such and such. That's kind of crazy. That's a little wild. So next one. How did your mom and your stepmom come to peace and why? It was after many, many years that I did. That's where the picking and choosing came from. And I had to like pick and choose holidays and where I wanted to go here. And do you want to do it with mom or do you want to? It was a lot. That was stressful for me. As a kid, I felt like that was very stressful for me. So that, as an adult, I didn't want that for my kids. So I feel like I was already trying to break generational curses, but that was probably the first one. That I was like, you bitches need to get your shit together for this kid and figure it out because I'm not going to have this. And they did. They kumbaya'd. I was like, you guys were friends at one point, and that must have been really hard for my mom. But she did it, and she did it for me, and she did it for her grandkids. And I'm sure if I asked her to do it, she would do it again because she's that kind of person. She's loving and forgiving, and she is just that kind of person. You know, she'll see the bright side in all of it. And I learned that the hard way because I gave this person access to my kids. And this person is a memory that they have and that I have to explain why they no longer have, which is kind of what happened with me when I was little. That, later on, someone asked a good question. How did you find out more information about her being your godmother? Because she was my godmother by the church. So one day we're looking through photograph books and all that, and I find that there's like pictures in my baptism, but they're missing. There's a bunch of pictures missing. And I'm like, that's so weird. Like, why is that missing? And then I asked my mom, I was like, why are all these pictures missing? Like, there's only pictures of where's like the other people. And that's when she told me, she was like, well, your stepmom was, that's who your stepmom was in those pictures. And I took them out, I removed them because we were never going to like talk about her ever. And I was like, what the fuck? It just thundered really hard outside. Okay, Mother Nature. She's like, yeah, girl. That's wild. I don't know if you guys could have heard that, but maybe you did. If you did, that was crazy. But so that happened, and that's how I found out that she was genuinely my like my godmother by the church and the whole thing, photographer, party. Like back then, baptisms were like, a big Cuban deal. And they still are. But, back then, it was, more of a festival kind of thing. And they made a festivity out of it and all of that. But that's how I found out. And I still have pictures from when I was little with her. Like, hanging out with my mom and stuff, I guess, until I got a little older. My mom had my sister. And then that's when that all happened. So that's crazy, but yeah. Next question. What are things you wish you can change, and what are things that you changed for yourself today? That's a good one. Actually, that's a great question. Things that I took away from this trauma to make it better was I definitely dealt with anxiety and a lot of stressful things in my life. I still deal with anxiety. Therapy did help me a lot with understanding why I had anxiety, which was like, kind of the root of the problem. You need to get to the root of the problem. And I feel like as Hispanic and Latinos, they're like, oye, a ti no te pasa nada. You're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. Therapy doesn't exist. That's for the weak. Deja eso, But it's a real thing because then you learn how to apply these things with your kids. So I'm glad that I did that and that I went to therapy. I'm glad that my takeaway would be that I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like that with my children. I don't want to be the kind of person who uses people or who scams people or who lies constantly. I take away loyalty from that. I feel like loyalty is so important, and who you surround yourself with. Not a jealous person, so I'm by nature not jealous like that. So thankfully, I'm very secure in the relationship that I have and the person that I chose to be with forever. And we have this conversation. We've had this conversation about, all of these things because of the trauma that I went through. So I do feel like I will never make my children choose. Again, I spoke about that earlier. And I'm never going to do that. That's, they have choices. I take away that it's okay to say no to people. It's okay to say I don't want these people around my children. Maybe at a dinner that, my children are not around, or that they're not going to have memories of you being anyone. There are just certain people that just should remain non-existent in your kids' lives. And if you're a parent and you're doing that for your kids, I applaud you, because it is not easy to just say no to people and be like, no, you don't actually have access to my kids, and now that they're older, they can see that it's been years now, and, they're okay. They don't need the exterior of that. And, they were never my village. So it wasn't something that like I was taken away. I have so many cousins and prima hermanas that, I just genuinely never really needed extra sisters. So to think that I gave all that love and, to them when they were little, and we grew up, we went on vacations together, we did so many things together, we grew up together. And I don't regret that, I really don't. However, I wouldn't subject my kids to that, because then they'd be missing out. They're, without them being consistently in their lives, I feel like it would be weird for them, because that's what they're used to. They're used to everybody showing up and showing out. They have the best Bella. My mom is the best. She was just here for a couple days on 4th of July weekend. We did the sushi burritos, and she's crazy. She's fun. We don't miss out on. I have my aunts. So it's just something that I wish was different. But it's crazy how, people are like, oh, you're not cut from the same cloth. That genuinely is true. Like, they're just raised differently. They have a different mom. They have different perspectives. And it has a lot to do with how you raise your kids. And that's okay. They didn't choose who their mother was. And, I prefer that they choose their blood, their mom, I would choose my mom. So I was okay with that decision with them. And the takeaway from that, it's not lost in love. It's okay to love. You're not losing out, It was a good thing. There were good times. So I hold on to those memories because they make me happy. And there's things where my kids will be walking around or doing something or saying something in a certain way, and the way that they move their mouth or its DNA is wild. And I see it in them, their toes, I see my dad, and, I can't live my life being angry at the things that he's done or the person that he turned out to be or the things that I had to go through. I felt like I turned them into positive things. Like, I want to make memories with my kids. I'm always taking pictures, and I kind of feel like that's where all of this came into tune. Maybe like I never knew that this epiphany of me doing a podcast or doing content, I just didn't feel comfortable in front of a camera. Those are real things. And I guess when you just ignore the outside noise of the world and what people think, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I have a papa. It doesn't matter that I have wrinkles. It doesn't matter. I have gray hair. It doesn't fucking matter. It really doesn't fucking matter what anybody thinks, because the people that know me, they know me. They know who I am. They know my heart. They know where I stand. They know why I do the things that I do. And you know what? To be honest, those are the only people that I want around me. Why do I need to be constantly explaining myself to anybody? Especially someone that isn't deserving of my time. I feel like that's when I step back and I'll like, whoa, okay, let me reassess this situation. That might be the Virgo in me. It could very well be the Virgo in me, but I'm okay with that. do what I have to do in life. And I am not perfect at all. Everybody has their fucking flaws, and so the fuck do I. But I also don't feel like I am at the worst of the flaws. I'm not this terrible person. So I'm proud of myself for coming out of all those things. I'm proud of not becoming someone who uses drugs or is an alcoholic. Herbie struggled with that for a while. And that's something that, he went through as a child as well. So it was in his family. And addiction is something that could have played a role in my life. And it didn't. As soon as I realized in my rebellious teen years that I was de pinga, I was like, you know what, this isn't the life that I want. This isn't what I want to do for myself. And I was young. And I made that decision by myself. So nobody but you can make the decision on how you're going to live your life but you. Every day is a different day. And working on trying to be better than I was yesterday versus trying to be the best at everything 24/7 is also a very good way to look at it. And I feel to live my life, it helps me on a daily basis. There are days where I don't want to get out of bed. There are days where I don't want to do certain things. There are days where I'm in a bad mood. And I'm entitled to that. And so is everybody. And you never know what someone's going through. They can be smiling in your face and they're going through the worst shit in their fucking life. But it could make you or break you. And I genuinely feel like I'm winning on this end. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I have my beautiful kids. I have my amazing husband who is the motherfucking shit. We love Papa so much. And he gives me every single thing that my dad could have ever given me and more. And he supports me in everything that I do. And he's my best friend. And, everything that we do it as a team. Everything that we do is as a team. So sometimes you have to carry the weight of your teammates. And that's what we do. And that's how the fuck we've been here for 23 years. We've had our breakup. We split up for a year. Even dated other people. I know people find that wild. They're like, oh my God. Yeah, girl. Lifes. No one's perfect. But we're here. We're here now. And that's what matters. And that's what I'm going to make count every single day from now on. And those are the things that keep me happy. So yeah, to answer up those questions, those are all the questions that I feel were valid. Some questions were invasive. Some questions were rude. Some questions were fucking weird. And a lot of you guys send me questions just through Instagram, my DM. And the questions are not even on my comment section on the YouTube. So I've had to write them down. And I have them sporadic in my notes. But I'm working on getting a little neater for the podcast because it requires a lot of write that down, So I have to do that and maintain writing these questions down. So yeah, my next question would be, oh my God, this question is totally random, but we're going to talk about it. Everyone wants to talk about the nursing bra. I got so many fucking DMs about a nursing bra. And I genuinely did not think that I was the only one, but the response that I got from you bitches. So everybody out here wearing nursing bras, huh? That's the takeaway that I'm getting from this. I posted myself on my story in my nursing bra, talking about how I struggle finding a bra because if I get a bigger bra, it's too wide on my back. And then my boobs don't fit in the front part. They kind of come out from the sides. It's not gonna work. It just doesn't fucking work. So as I'm thinking about it and I'm buying this nursing bra, I'm thinking, you know what? I'm gonna share this with everyone. As embarrassing as it is, I'm gonna share it. Yes, it has the clip. And yes, you can pop the boobie out. That is not the reason why I buy it. I buy it because my back actually fits in it. And then they have larger bust size. So they'll have a large and then a larger bust. It's two different sizing. Why the fuck? Why? I wish I could tap the screen right now. But you know what? Why the fuck, okay, are we not making bras like this for everyone? Why does it have to be a nursing bra? I have been dealing with this situation since I nursed children. And I will tell you why. Because those are the bras that I would go to and stay wearing. And then after I would breastfeed for like a year or two, I'm like, damn, this bra's old. And you know what? This is a nursing bra. I can't be wearing a nursing bra. Bitch, the fuck if I'm not. I never threw them hoes away. The older they got, the better they were. Yes, eventually I threw them away. And then when it came time to shopping for a new bra, I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is this? Got these ginormous jugs and not a linebacker back. So then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to buy myself a nursing bra. And ever since then, that's what I do. And I'm not kidding. So many people were like, I still wear my nursing bra. I absolutely love my nursing bra. Had my nursing bra for like 8 years, and I'm thinking to myself, ain't no motherfucking way. Millions and millions of you guys reached out to me, and you've sent me what kind of bras you wear and which ones you like. Target has the most popular. Target and Amazon. Haven't tried any Amazon ones, but I definitely need to look into that, because you know what, bitch? If you're not going to make bras for my back size, then I'm going to keep buying fucking nursing bras, because a bitch needs a bra. Oh, girl, it's thundering outside. Ooh, so nice and comfy in here. So let's talk about the Real Housewives of Rhode Island. Why is it so hard to say that for me, like all together? Like, hello, ma'am, get it together. I don't know if you guys have watched it. I started watching it, and when I tell you, I binged the entire fucking season and literally left off with, like, you can watch the first part of the reunion. So I only had to wait for the second part of the reunion. Girl, buckle up. The amount of questions that I have for them bitches. And there's more now, because there was another season, and obviously I didn't make a podcast last week. I'm working on that too. See, I gotta be better than I was yesterday, girl. But here are your questions for all of the things that are happening. Girl, oh my God, like, hold on. Rula. We're gonna just start with Rula. Holy fucking shit. What? Oh my God. Where do I start? The delusion with that woman. It's scary to watch, or to think that someone is like that. And love is blinding. Totally get that. Totally understand that. I have mixed emotions about her, but then she's such a bitch when she comes back just defending him, that it also reminds me, because like I feel like, okay, you know, we could take it down a lot. Like, you know, Joellen was a little much, but at the same time, I get where she's coming from. And then that part where they were talking at the polo, I'm thinking to myself, they're gonna have a moment and this bitch is gonna come to her senses. No, she shows up to the reunion with an entire new face. Like, who I was like, who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that? When Joellen said, you're a new cast member, oh my God, I legit died. Like, oh shit. Cause bitch, you said what everybody was fucking thinking. Holy fucking shit. I did not expect that. Okay. And then I don't know what happened with if it's the lip flip that she did or the filler that she did at the same time with the nose job, but it was my husband. She could not talk. I was shocked. I was totally shocked. I am still shocked by this woman and her decisions. I know the guys are going to come out and talk, I think tonight. Today's Tuesday, right? Yes, today's Tuesday. We are filming on a Tuesday. And yeah, they're going to come out and talk tonight. So I'm so excited for that. You guys sent me a lot of questions about the Real Housewives. That's where I stand with Rula. I think that she needs a lot of therapy. I say that from like the best part of my heart. Okay, that's genuine. But yeah, was Liz in the right to be so angry at the situations she was angry about? In terms to Joellen and all of that, she definitely has anger issue problems. Like she has anger issues. She definitely has anger issues. But I don't know where she is with that and the rest of the cast, because that's something that they all expected from her. She's been acting like this for a while. She's giving like the Mob Wives. Remember that reality show? With like Angie and all that. However, I was shocked at how she is literally Dolores' doppelganger. Like, are they related? Like, these women look identical. And it's crazy to think that you would have just a friend that looks so much alike. Like, that was crazy. I don't think that she blew all of the things out of proportion when it came to some of the things where she was checking some people. However, I do think she internally blows it out of proportion. Like that part where they were in the pool, she blew out of the water. Like, she didn't do anything to her at all. And I kind of felt bad for her because she was just trying to tell her, hey, like, it's going to look bad if you go and you do this. And she was like, fuck this shit and fuck that and fuck you. And she was hella fucking pissed. She blew that out of proportion. And with the other girl, too, she had a fight with her, too, that was kind of crazy. Next one. Joellen's husband and sister. ¿Qué es eso? Laugh out loud. So, it is weird that she, you know, they talk about like him being a donor for her casually and whatnot, and that she shows up and she cooks, and I don't know why she does it, but it is very strange. She like vicariously lives through Joellen, and that is strange. And even that the husband is okay with it, I don't know what that dynamic is there. And especially that she, you know, openly talks about, you know, being a swinger, or well, I guess the threesome she had, it wasn't that. They're not swingers. I digress, allegedly. But yeah, that was a dynamic that I'm not used to seeing. So that was a little strange. The conversations were odd. Watching her in the house, I was like, who the fuck is this bitch? It's her sister. At first, I was like, what the fuck? Who is this? But yeah, definitely weird. Don't know what the fuck's going on there. Something's going on, that's for sure. Ashley's husband and his insecurities. Your thoughts? I don't think he's insecure. I think that he's just awkward. He's just like an awkward person. That's just his personality. And she kind of meets that medium for him because she's like funky and quirky. I actually like Ashley. I follow her on Instagram. She's kind of cool. I think she's funny. She's genuine. She did an amazing house tour with her house completely fucking messy and kids everywhere and shit dirty and eating chips. It was so cute. I enjoyed that reel that she made. Or TikTok, because I think she does both. But I don't think he's insecure. I just genuinely think that he, you know, doesn't know where he stands and what he wants to do. And maybe she's pushing him to do what he doesn't want to do, which seems like to me he doesn't want to model. He doesn't want to be put on social media. But she's very much so, and she's active on social media. She has a lot of followers on social media. So that's good for her. I really love that for her. I hope she gets a whole bunch of brand deals. And I think she's sweet. I like her. I genuinely like her. So yeah, next question. Do you think everything will be revealed when the husbands come out? I think that and I also heard that Liz is not coming back to the show because they're having some legal issues going on and this and that. It might also be with this Dorian guy. She doesn't want to get exposed. I'm not sure what the whole schnoozle is with that. But I do know that I feel like for Rula, if this isn't an awakening for her, depending on what the guys come out and say and what her husband says, I don't really know what the fuck's gonna happen. I think that if anybody that's gonna be put on blast, it's them. I think they're the ones that are gonna be scrutinized, and I think that it's gonna come out tonight about everything. And he's either gonna deny it or confirm it. But we're gonna have to watch tonight and see. I think it's tonight, Tuesday. Gotta check my calendar. Have a lot of shows that a bitch is watching. I just watched I Will Find You on Netflix. Wow. What a great show. Keep you on your fucking toes. If you have not watched that, it is binge worthy. The whole thing is out. Definitely watch it. I love you bitches. I will see you next week, and we're definitely gonna talk about the Rhode Island bitches. I love you. Mwah.